This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West podcast with your hosts, Brandon Cook, Nick Harrington, and Travis Foch.
So hopefully I can be as good shorthanded as the Walleye are.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if you didn't watch the first show, you'll now know I have a broken hand. So the shorthanded jokes were in full force. Broken hand, shorthanded. I don't know what else you guys threw at me on Monday, or Sunday, whatever day we recorded this week, because it's been an interesting start to my week.
It sure has been an interesting start, not just for yours, but for mine as well. So, but why did you say for the Walleye?
They've only scored 6 shorthanded goals in 4 games. So if I can be half as good as they are shorthanded, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, unfortunately for you, you said you're off for what, 2-3 weeks?
Too long. It's too long. I tried to go back to work, and it's a work thing. Like, they won't let me come back unless it's no restrictions. So yeah, now I get some time off, and hopefully they'll let me use. I asked them today. I should know tomorrow if I can use like partial day of sick and partial day of like regular time off, so I can go to the game on Wednesday next week, because we have a kids' day game. So we'll see.
Yeah, you guys. What day is yours?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. I think we have one Wednesday as well for Grand Rapids.
Full slate in the middle of the day, potentially.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna get that covered. So dang, guess we'll figure it out. So
Well, show goes on.
Show goes on. Speaking of, so we'll get into it today. Thank you for joining Hockeytown West. Thank you for coming back. Thank you to everybody that listens and who subscribed last show. And if you haven't already, please do that. Subscribe. Throw a little. YouTube's got a new feature called Hype. You could just go in and it doesn't cost anything. I don't know if you know this, Trav. You just go in, you can click Hype. It's in one of the features right on the video. So you can see comments, then you can scroll over and there's a Hype. And what it does is it brings you to, it puts that content out towards other creators for like Red Wings, Griffins, Toledo, ECHO, other hockey creators too. So, and it's free. I did it off my personal account towards ours just to see like, what does it do? It didn't cost me anything. And I think it helped push the episode to some more people. So who have not found us yet, who have not been listening to us yet. So that helps us quite a bit if you're able to go in, hit the hype, hit the like, hit the share, hit subscribe. I know Brandon and I, we've got to figure out this contest here shortly for some subscribers on all of it. We've hit some major milestones too. We hit 500, small on the Instagram side, but with this milestone, we hit 1,000 on TikTok. And then we just hit 2 episodes ago. We didn't even celebrate it. We hit 200th episode. Didn't even, no mention of it, no nothing. Changed the music around. So a lot of things are happening on our side, which is good. Continue to grow, and all of you guys' support does help us. Small likes and shares and subscribes do help us quite a bit. So if you're not following us everywhere, please go through, follow us. If you're not listening to us while you're driving, just make sure you go through, follow us, share, and continue to listen in for this great content that Travis is going to give us for the Toledo Walleye today. Anything you need to add there, Trav?
No, I mean, the biggest thing we'll just jump into news. We actually have some news this week. Some weeks are lighter than others, but we've got
a lot.
Well, I mean, 3 pieces, nothing crazy. To start though, Tanner Edwards traded from Toledo to South Carolina. There was no word on a return, so my guess would be their future considerations are it's just a cap dump to gain some cap space, which probably leads into why. With the second piece would be Jacob Truscott assigned from Grand Rapids to Toledo. So I would assume they were pushing our roster limit. They maybe had to make a move, free up space and a roster spot to bring in Truscott.
It's interesting. I'm surprised this move. This is an interesting move. One, of moving Tanner. So it leaves us with one less Tanner on the team. What does that bring us to? Is it 5 now or is it 4?
I think it's 3. I think we're down to 3. Yeah.
So interesting news on that end. But the Truscott piece is interesting because we have, we signed this guy right at the end of last season. We signed him right out of college. And the Grand Rapids Griffins signed him. He's on a Griffins contract. And he comes through camp, plays really well during preseason, plays well during training camp. And then the unfortunate news for him is that he gets here and now they sent down Justin Hull and Eric Gustafson. So we're now very heavy on the D side, which we were not expecting to get those two. You kind of expect those two to be up. Axel Sandin Pellikka here, and then Truscott, and then you might have, maybe one or two guys kind of rotating in or out in case of injury, things like that. So it was interesting, that aspect of now you got Truscott. He's been the odd man out because we're loaded here on the D side, and he's only getting like one game every 2 weeks. So for me, I'm like, why did this move not come a little bit sooner? Just so he could get some reps, get some game time, get some action on the ice. Like, he's played very well. It's not to say that he doesn't deserve a spot up here. I know if a trade or an injury or something happens, like, he'll be the first call up. He'll come in and he'll do really well. It's just an interesting timing of it. So I kind of wonder if Booyam is closer to returning than we thought.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. And like you said, it's probably just to get him on playing time. And it'll be interesting to see how Pat shuffles this with adding another defenseman. I think they're at 9 right now. I think we have 9 defensemen down here. So it's 8 or 9. I'm almost certain it's 9 when I looked earlier. But it's just like, holy cow. You play 6, so you got 3 defensemen sitting. Normally you maybe want maximum of 2. So, but it is nice too, because like we have a 3-3 this weekend. So they can kind of rotate some guys in and out. And I would think that Truscott will play all 3 games just for the fact that he hasn't played a lot. So he's going to be fresh. And not to say that the team's not fresh in general. We've only played 4 games. Some of the teams in our divisions played 8, but it is interesting. It's going to, like you said, open up some playing time for him, and potentially you guys might get another guy back with Booyam up top. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he slots in and how he plays. I'm expecting him to step in transitionally. Will be no transition at all, really. I think he'll blend right in with the guys in the system.
Do you foresee him being like just first line D, right?
I have no idea. That's one thing. Like, it's going to be very interesting to see where he's deployed, how he's deployed, and what he can do at this level. You would expect him to be a very impactful piece on the back end.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to force somebody out. But like I said, I feel like there's going to be a rotation.
The other piece on it, too, that I want to talk with on the Truscott's piece is that we only have one game this week. Grand Rapids plays on Sunday. And so that's a long layoff. He's probably not slotted to play this week with Grand Rapids as well. So it's more of like, okay, let's send him down to Toledo. You guys have 3 games. He can get kind of up to speed, game speed on that route. There's a long layover. And I think the week after, it's like a Wednesday. I know they have a school day game next week. And then after that, I can't remember what the schedule looks like. So we're kind of on a weird, Grand Rapids is on a really weird schedule for this first month and a half of hockey. It'll be good for him to be set down, get some playing time. And I think he should be one of the standout guys for you guys as well, once he gets down there. They, at one point in the NHL, did they run 4 lines D?
I don't think so. I think it's always been 3 pairs.
Is it always? Okay, I was like, I feel like Detroit did this at one point where they ran 4 lines of D-men. I'm like, that doesn't really... Maybe they changed some of the amount of people that could be out there once. I don't know. But the other aspect, too, is I wonder if because I'm sure he's got an apartment here at Grand Rapids. I'm wondering if he's staying at Eric Gustafson's local house or maybe Justin Hull's house to just make the quicker trip from Detroit to Toledo, or if
they'll get him housing.
Okay.
He'll have a room down here, I'm sure. They'll work that out. I'm sure somebody's in charge of that.
Because Hull and Gustafson are driving every day back and forth. So I'm like, I wonder if, they're like, hey, kid, just stay at our place. You got a spare bedroom. Just, make the easier drive down for you.
No, I think it's the housing's provided. I'm pretty sure.
You have to text Chaz and see what the situation is for him down there. So, but
yeah,
good for him.
Yeah, it'd be exciting. And then the last piece of news is that they'll get Swire back. So really, they're getting 2 additions to defense. They have Swire coming back off of his 3-game suspensions. They'll have 2 basically 2 new pieces. Swire only played a little bit of a games, and it'll be interesting to see how that folds out. Right, you get 2 guys coming in, so 2 guys are probably gonna have to come out. The tough decisions don't get any easier for Pat, but
no, not at all. But I don't envy either of the coaches right now, of Dan or Pat. And maybe Dan was like, you veterans just figure it out. I don't need to add that to my plate. You guys just take care of it. Now with, well, I guess Watts is now back. So it's like, I guess the vet rule is still back and it's still an issue for them to try to sort out. So
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these two teams sort this out. But I guess we'll jump into the one game to review, and then after that, we didn't say it at the beginning of the show, but we're actually going to be joined by a guest that you and I sat down with, Nick Parillo. So before we get to that, though, we got a game to talk about. Our home opener. Obviously, you guys got yours almost a month earlier, half a month earlier. We always have to wait till November, which sucks. And they didn't take long to get the party going. It was like 37 seconds. Chad Hildebrand from Dickinson, and a nice shot from the slot, top of the circle. So to get the building into it and get it going early, it was crazy. I was like, man, if they score another one early, this game's gonna be over before it started.
the thing that I love that they did this year was the blue carpet. Like this was
Yeah.
something that the Red Wings have been doing as a red carpet, something that we wanted to see here at Grand Rapids. They've actually knocked out their season ticket member signing very early. They did it last Sunday. Typically, we see that at the end of the season, but they got that done out of the way, got everybody integrated, right? And then you guys bust out the blue carpet. You guys go through all the signings and, kind of a party. And sometimes that throws the players off, right? Like their whole rhythm, their routine is off. And you said they come out 56 seconds?
36 or 37.
37 seconds and get the party going. Were you able to be a part of the blue carpet? Is this something that Toledo's done before? I know since we've been covering, they haven't.
I don't think so. They did the post game party as well as the blue carpet, and I didn't venture down this year. I went out to eat with some friends before the game, but we got to the rink at 5:30, right when the doors opened. So I mean, it was definitely it was busy early, and then for them to get the lead early was huge. Ultimately, they leave the first period tied at 1, but the explosion in the second period was pretty bizarre in the way that it happened. They take a penalty and then they score twice in the same penalty shorthanded, like which Pat said, and I forgot all about this a couple years ago. His first year, they did that in that year as well. So a very weird stat, and it was kind of crazy to talk to Pat after the game of like, have you ever been around a team that's so successful shorthanded?
What do you think the reasoning is for it? You see it in Detroit, they're a lot better penalty kill this year. You see it in Grand Rapids, better penalty kill. We've had our short-handed chances as well. Do you think it's just the system that they're playing, or do you think it's more of like the players that they have that's kind of, or a combination of both?
I think it's maybe a combination. The biggest thing is the guy that's in charge of it, right? With Chaz, he's a big, tough defensive defenseman, knows how to play defense at a really high level. And you can see that, there's like a little bit more of an aggressiveness at times. I don't know. That'd be something that I'd have to sit down and talk to him about and, see what, they're preaching. But you look at the 2 goals they scored, right? And it's kind of like if they see an opening, they just go. And the first one, I mean, a 2-on-1 with Andrews and Hillman, I mean, that was a great play, cross ice pass and a 2-on-1 shorthanded. Like you shouldn't be giving up odd man rushes when you have an extra man. So pretty blown assignment there by Indy. Beautiful play there. And then it was like, again, like it wasn't even that long. It was like probably under a minute, and Hildebrand gets a breakaway shorthanded. So it's just Indy's power play not working, right? And a beautiful goal by Hildebrand to go to his forehand. He's just so big and long and lengthy, super skilled offensively. He's off to a phenomenal start for the team. And that was a beautiful goal. And just like, it's like, oh my God, we were talking around us again, like, oh my God, they scored shorthanded. And then it was, oh my God, they did it again. And then it's like, that's 5 goals in 4 games shorthanded. They got more shorthanded goals than they got power play goals.
That's insane. I mean, if you're not going to score on the power play, at least you score shorthanded, right?
It's bizarre, man. I've never seen a team like score so many shorthanded, and I forget the stat that I was told. It was like they're like 60% of the way already as to what they had all of last season for shorthanded goals, and they're not even 5 games into the year. So it's very weird. Obviously, you don't want to be shorthanded, but I guess if you're going to score shorthanded, just take a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, it has to give the team the confidence too. Like if there's a dumb call, or if there's something that was just like, come on, like the refs is just a little whistle happy that night, right? We're shorthanded. Hey, not a problem. Like we're going to be able to go out. We're able to get a goal. We've done it before. This is a strong penalty kill unit. And, it just has to give the goalies even more, like less pressure on them, that they have to really be more dialed in. I don't want to say more dialed in, but just have a little bit less pressure in those situations, right?
Well, I think the biggest thing for a goalie that, you see guys going in a 2-on-1 and you're like, boy, if they make a big save and there's a rebound coming the other way quick, we're going to be really shorthanded coming the other way. But I guess when you score, it doesn't make a difference. But yeah, it's so unique how things are working for that unit. And like you said, it does provide like a jolt of energy, and it's a confidence thing, right? Like some teams they struggle so badly with the penalty kill that like, it's like, oh, we got to go kill a penalty. And for these guys, they got to be feeling like, guys, as much as we're scoring, we get to go kill a penalty. Like,
Yeah.
and it's team speed too. Like their team speed stands out. Like you guys are getting sprung free in 2-on-1s and breakaways so often shorthanded. It just shows you how fast they are. And I think that's something that their team speed, it seems quicker than last year. This seems like there's more pace. But yeah,
I think that's up and down the organization as well. Just more pace. There's more intensity, right?
yeah, there's definitely an intensity, like positivity this year than there maybe has been in the years past. Way more urgency with it, maybe is what I was looking to say. But yeah, and then Moyle gets a goal. He stays hot. Indy makes it 4-2, and you're just kind of like towards the end of the period, and you're like, oh man, I'd love to get another one. And then Craggs from like an impossible angle basically was standing in the corner on the goal line and scored. And it's just like, you're living right. You get 2 shorthanded goals. You get a goal going from the corner. It's like you get 137 seconds in. It's like it's just your night. And the third was just kind of like a back and forth, not a ton happening. And I was actually downstairs already when they scored the 6th goal, and it was Hillman again, breakaway shorthanded. Like, here we go again. How does this continuously happen? And I was like, it just was crazy downstairs. And everybody was like, oh my God, they scored again shorthanded. And my buddy that sits behind me, Brian, he texts me, goes, hey, scored another one shorthanded. I was like, I seen it, but it was just like, I don't understand. Like I've said, I've watched hockey my whole life, and I've never seen anything like this to start a season with this many shorthanded goals. It's unbelievable.
Now you got to help me out because it's been a minute since I've been at Toledo for a game. I know Brandon's going this weekend, but it's free chili on power play goals, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I said, man, could you imagine if they started dishing them out on shorties? They'd be broke.
They might have to do a Frosty or something, like, or some fries, or, at that
I'd
point.
be down
I'm
for a
surprised.
Frosty.
Yeah. You go to Wendy's, you get your free chili from a power play goal, and then you get a shorty, you get your Frosty, or, some fries to add to it. And, everybody at Toledo's happy at that point, a little bit of free Wendy's on the way home. But
yeah, and it's crazy because if you look at the special teams, right, they're 1 for 5 on the power play with one power play goal. And then they're 2 for 2 on the penalty kill with 3 shorthanded goals. It's just, yeah, I know we've talked a lot about special teams, but when it's this crazy, you can't not talk about it. Like, it's so bizarre.
Yeah, I wonder how like practice is going when they practice these units out there. Is the penalty kill just crushing them? Is that why like maybe we're not doing so well? I think of it too as like when you watch the Lions of preseason, you see the offense go against the defense, and you're like, wow, the defense is just out here crushing it. And you're like, well, is the offense just really struggling? Is that why? Or is the defense just really that good? So like, I wonder what it's looking like in practice when these two teams go, like when these two units go against each other, because it's iron sharpens iron, right? Like they're going to be better for it. What I'm looking at while you're going through this as well, guys, is Indy's power play is a 14.3%. And their penalty kill is 75%. So I'm like, did they just run against this shorthanded, this penalty kill unit for Toledo? Did they just get hot against the right team? Or is this something that, is Indy really struggling throughout the season already?
Well, they're not off to a good start. That's for sure.
It's not great.
No, it's not, but it's pretty bizarre just how this special teams has worked out. And I said in the summer, like, where are the goals going to come from? Apparently, they're coming shorthanded. I know it's nuts to talk about so much. You look at like Toledo's, their power play percentage it's 31%. Like,
yeah.
So
Pellikka's at 78, so they're over the 100% mark.
They're way over it, and then they're scoring at a crazy rate. So it just is. Well, their penalty kills at 85, so it's 85 and 31. It's just bizarre. Their special teams play has been so unbelievable, according to the Daily Report stats.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm just looking at the ECHL on the regular site. But then when I scroll down, it's got a different percentage, a 31 and 86. So it's maybe they round it. I don't know. That's so weird. The only one thing that I want to pull out of this game is like where I pulled up the stat sheet. I wasn't able to watch because I was covering Grand Rapids Saturday night. The one thing, because Brandon was watching Michigan football, though. So I was covering the Griffins while he's watching that. He had both games on, or all three games on. I'm looking at the stat sheet. I see 51 total shots, 21 in the second, 20 a total of 25 shots for Indy. Like for me, covering the Griffins, 51 shots is insane. Like we've been outshot every game but two so far. But to see 51 shots, I think we had one game that was at 40, and that was against Iowa when I went to overtime. And I think there was only 2 shots in overtime. So to see 51 shots, like, is this a trend? Is this something that Toledo's been doing throughout the year? Is out shooting their opponents by this much?
I mean, they've always been a high shot total team. And there's been a lot of nights to where like they're sitting at 40 after 20 minutes some nights, and you're like, oh my God, we're on pace for 60 shots on goal.
Yeah.
And in this game, like you could see, I think it was after Moyle scored, like that goalie's been just bombarded with shots, right? At the point Moyle scored, he's probably already faced over 40 or in the high 30s. And some teams don't get that in 3 periods, let alone through 2. And you could see him just like throw his hands up. He's like, come on, can we play some defense? Can we eliminate some shots? You could just see the frustration. So it's just like when you make a team work that hard defensively, like they're going to wear down. So you've seen it in the playoffs. Like look at the game that they lost, the last game of the finals to. I think they had almost 50 shots on goal.
Yeah.
Granted, Kavlin was unbelievable, but if you just can get to a goaltender, they got to this guy early, and then the snowball, it just kept rolling down the mountain.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty consistent, like from the time that we've been covering, is that it's usually a high shot total. I mean, it just is in that league. I know when we were covering it in the first year, it's like a lot of breakaways, a lot of back and forth, not a whole lot of defensive structure is what we saw. We saw it last year, right? With in the finals, we saw it. So still crazy to see his 51 shots. It's one of those things too. It's just like they don't even count the shot attempts or the shot blocks. So 51 is not even the max of what was attempted,
Right.
on their end. But to outshoot them almost 2-1, I mean, it's still super impressive. And Pat's got the guys, and Chaz got the guys, running at a good pace of stick discipline and making sure that those shots that are getting on net against us, right, are in bad zones or bad areas to make it easy for the goalies. Because I mean, that's what we're seeing up here in GR.
Yeah, and you talk about all the special teams, and you can't not talk about the goaltending. Carter made a few big saves in this game. He got the start, and he's off to a tremendous start this year. I can't put enough emphasis on it. He's at a .922 save percentage and a 2.01 in 3 games played, and he's won 2 of them, and very easily could have won the 3rd game. So he's off to a great start. I almost asked for him after the game, after the game and after the home opener. I elected to go with some other guys. I went with the hometown kid, and then Hillman, and with Hillebrand scoring, and then Pat. It's just like, you don't want to overdo it. But for Carter, I think it's just he looks so settled into what he's doing this year. Like last year, I think there were maybe points where he would even tell you, like, there's an adjustment, right? Going from college to playing pro, even at this level. And this year, he just looks so confident. You can tell he's got a year under his belt. It looks like a seasoned veteran out there, kind of like Jan last year, how Jan took that step and became that, leader, right, after it was Letham the year before. And it just, you could tell Carter's really taken on that role this year so far early. And I think they're going to kind of go to him a lot this year. They got a young goaltender with Lalonde, and then they still have Soler also, which, I mean, he's a first-year pro. They got 2 young guys. Well, Liam's a little older than Nolan, but it still comes down to not a lot of experience. So we'll see. I still don't know. And they still haven't even figured out who's playing with who up front or even on defense. So, but I think they're going to lean on Carter quite a bit this year at points. Like he'll probably play 2 games this weekend would be my guess. And I think he's just going to get a heavy workload, which is good for him, right? Like he's kind of earned that.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, he's been there for a little bit.
This is kind of this should be really this like his coming out year, right? Last year it was Jan. It kind of seemed like Jan was more of the starter. Um,
Well,
last year,
they win every other game. I just don't know if
yeah.
you're going to see that as much this year. I think it's going to be more Carter.
Until you got to the playoffs, though, I felt like they ran Jan a little bit more.
Well, they did in the finals. They did do that in the finals, which they did that the year before with Johnny. So you might even get to a situation this year. I mean, granted, we got a long ways until then, but you could see Carter kind of take that role on, and it's going to be interesting how they juggle this. They got 3 in right now, and anytime you get in a guy from a different organization, right? With Nolan, you don't know, he could get called up to Cleveland. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they manage the goalies this year. But I think it's definitely Carter's net so far, and probably for the right reason. I mean, he looks so confident this year. If you get a chance to watch a game, like, you'll see it. He just looks like he's hit that next gear.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if Saturday night I know Brandon's headed down for this game on Saturday, right? And I am debating on either going to the Penn State Michigan State game or not, staying home and watching the Toledo Walleye. So
I'll just tell you this: if you go to that game over coming down here, the next time you're in Toledo, you're never going to hear the end of it.
We did say we had to pay a tribute to our good buddy Andrew Sturts when he was here in town. Being able to see him, Gavin McKenna, the Sparties. It's probably my last weekend free with my new work schedule. I know the Walleye are going to be playing well till June, so I'll have another chance to watch Penn State, Michigan State. I think there's only one more game, and it's in Pennsylvania after this weekend. So because they'll do both home games in Michigan State and then 2 home games in Penn State. So,
yeah, one of them's outside. But
I was saying the other one's outside. I don't think we're going to be able to get access to that. So, I'm looking. The tickets are like $80 though, so it's like those college games are expensive.
Yeah.
A little bit of a lesser drive as well, especially coming back as late as we usually do when we leave Toledo. To bring this back on track, or so far though, would you say Carter? And I apologize because I wasn't on the last episode, so I didn't really get my Toledo update as well. But who played? Did Carter play? What's the goalie split?
So they've played 4 games, and Carter's played 3 of them. So,
okay, and then Nola got the other one, correct?
Yeah, he played the second game in Bloomington, and he won that game. And he played really well. Like, he was really good in that game. I believe he stopped like 33 of 35. And he had a shutout going till into the third period, like well into the third period. So it was a really good pro debut for him the week prior.
Is there, do we foresee Liam getting any chance in that? We picked when we got him. I was pretty excited to be able to see this kid. Is there, I guess, what's the scoop on him?
I don't know. And that's the thing that they
Is that on air or off air?
I don't know anything. I know nothing. So
come on, Friedman, tell us your stories.
I don't know anything, actually. It's like I said, it's just another thing for them to manage, right? And they've got a good group. They had 3 at so many points last year, so I'm not really that concerned with it. I'm sure at some point Nolan will go to Cleveland, and injuries happen,
trades happen.
Yeah, like I'm sure things will happen to where he's going to see games up there potentially, or be needed up there. Then you'll see Liam potentially rotate in here. But I think overall, I think you're going to see Carter a lot, and I think that's probably a smart move. But as well as Nolan's shown that he can play, and I'm sure when Liam gets his opportunity, he's going to show that he can play. So it's a good problem to have.
It's interesting because going into the season, Carter didn't play a whole lot in the beginning, right? He didn't play any preseason games for Detroit. He was in the rotation. And then we pick up Nolan on loan from Cleveland. And so, it's interesting to see how it shakes out because Carter looks good. He's feeling healthy, and he's looking, he's putting up some good numbers. And he's kind of the workhorse, you could say, for the team so far. So it's, it wouldn't be a season in Detroit organization without a little bit of goalie controversy, right?
Yeah, it's just crazy that, we're the ones with 3, but it is what it is. They'll carry on. But yeah, sort of to dive in, we've been doing a new thing to where we pitch 3 stars for the week. I didn't go with what they did for the game because we got the 3 stars. All 3 stars were us for that game. I'll give Carter an honorable mention. I think we gave him one already this year. I wanted to just kind of point out at the 3rd star for Nick Andrews and the start that he's had. He had 2 assists in that game, and then he's also leading the team in assists. He's got 5 points already this year, all assists. He's really found the next level, and I think he played meaningful minutes last year in the playoffs, and I think that was a big experience for him, and now he's just, expanding on that. So a huge start for him.
It's going to be interesting now, though, is because he went to Michigan State, and now you're getting a Michigan Wolverine joining the group here with Jacob Truscott. So it'll be I wonder if Pat matches him up as deep pairings.
They might, like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. He's off to a great start, though. Can't, express how he seems to have found another gear. A lot of guys have just, with an expanded role, seem to have found their next level. And the second star, seems like a big addition. I say that jokingly. He's like 6'4". He's very tall with Chad Hillebrand. He scored, again, 2 goals in this game. He's off to an incredible start and just a super guy to talk to. It was funny when he was coming up to talk to me. I talked to him after the preseason game, and he was coming up. He goes, "Good to talk to you again." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, I think I made a joke. I was like, might be often this year with how your start's going. He's a good character. He seems like a really nice guy and loves it here so far. So I got him for the second star.
And you've been saying too in the group chat that you're hoping that either he gets, you don't hope that this happens, that he gets called up to Grand Rapids, right? Or Grand Rapids signs him and, maybe it's still a long season. A lot of crazy things are going to happen. Do you foresee him potentially filling in a spot here if it opens?
We'll circle back to that after we get through the 3 stars. Let me get through these. The other one, obviously, first star, Will Hillman. 2 shorthanded goals. Like, how do you not be the first star? So that was another guy that is off to a phenomenal start, and he's taken on that role and he's done great so far. And he was a treat to talk to after the game as well. So that's our 3 stars with an honorable mention of Carter. Now to your other question. What do you got? Yes, there's probably multiple guys that I've said over the years, why do they let these guys potentially leave the organization midseason? And I could foresee a couple guys already getting call-ups. And Pat even said, there's a chance we could lose a couple guys already in one of the post-game interviews that I've done with him. So the 2 that really stand out, obviously Hillebrand, he's off to a great start. He's probably going to get a look from somebody at some point this year. And you hope that it's after he's got 5 games, because it could be a situation where he might sign and you might not see him for quite a while. The other one is Tanner Dickinson. Both of these 2, and this goes back to me, I've said for a long time, Grand Rapids needs to just sign some of these guys. And if they don't play in the American League and they're still in Toledo, then you don't have to worry about them leaving the organization, right? And this is where one of those things where I wish GR would invest more to keeping not their talent, because they're not on, obviously, Griffins deals at this point, but give some of these guys contracts and just stash them in Toledo. Then if guys get hurt, you guys are an injury and a call up away from not even being able to dress enough forwards. And then you have a problem. So then it's oh, now we got to scramble. Well, what if you got to scramble and they're not there? You know what I mean? It seems like it makes too much sense. But yeah, those 2 could definitely at some point this year, along with many others. There are so many guys, Moyle's off to a great start. That could even become a reality for him. So it's not just those 2. There's so many guys that you could just see. And it's yearly with this team, to where there's maybe 4 or 5 guys that they could go play a handful of games on a PTO somewhere and come back, or they could go, and we've seen it to where guys go and then they don't come back. So it's, yeah.
Yeah. We've seen it a lot. Like you said, we've seen it a lot where, we've had to play them because they went to Chicago or they went to Cleveland and then they played against us. So it's always in the division. It's crazy too, because you look at it, and for the ECHL, you see a lot of these guys are on on other organizations, they're on NHL deals, right? Or NHL contracts, and they're down on the coast. And so it's those teams typically do better. They typically, I believe Toronto was one of them, isn't it?
Toronto loaded Cincy up this year. We'll see how that goes. They're tied with us. They're 3-2 right now. The one that really obviously sticks out for a lot of Toledo fans is when the Marlies were affiliated with the Growlers. That was an American League team that Toledo played that year in the finals and took them 6 games. And you've seen it last year, South Carolina at one point had 13, 14 guys. So it just goes back to like you said, like some of these guys in the past, like Bliss, you can remember, went to Chicago at one point. Lewandowski was with Cleveland. It's like, why didn't GR just sign these guys to AHL deals and just stash them in Toledo? Because then they aren't leaving, and then you don't have to play them down the road. Like,
Yeah.
nothing's more like a kick in the face than like if a guy leaves the organization to go play a few games with like Milwaukee or Cleveland.
Yeah,
That was
that's
another
happened.
team. That's another team Lewandowski was with, was Milwaukee. Gabriel went to Cleveland. So it's like there's just like, and then if you have to play them and then they score against you, like that's a big time kick in the face. So it's like
Karma.
it's bad karma. Like just
Friendly fire. Brandon likes to
like
say.
get the karma out of here. Just give some of these guys AHL deals with your organization and carry on. But I mean, it's just an interesting point you brought up because I've already had that conversation with probably 3 or 4 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And like Hillebrand, he's played in the AHL. He's had success in the AHL. So it's not anything of like, oh, this guy hasn't played there. He's not going to be used to the pace. Like he's been there. He's done that. Like he had success there. So it wouldn't be anything new for him to be called up and be able to kind of fit right in and give us a boost if needed. Right. I mean, this Grand Rapids team is absolutely bonkers, I'll say, for this year. It's just call ups and injury. Like on this side, Detroit and Grand Rapids is just kind of a crazy situation right now. So more of a rotating players back and forth than we have seen in the past, I feel. My first year following this team, it was Toledo and GR were sharing players like crazy. So it's definitely a different situation now. Yeah. It's I think too, like because you cover so much of the ECHL, you're that much into it. Like that's why I want to bring this up is like you see these players, you see these other teams, these other organizations do it. Why aren't we doing it? It's not like it's an out of the box thought, right? It's something that's already common. It's already established. These teams do well because of it. Why aren't we doing it? Why? What is the holdup here? And it's a little maddening, right?
Well, and it does take 2 to tango, right? Like they have to want to sign that deal too. There might be a better, option elsewhere at times. Like we've seen, we just lost Red Savage. Like that's another guy that could have like factored into this, but don't look at him. It's a legit point. Like he was started in the coast. Granted, he's back up already, but like that's another like it's just a point. I don't understand why they don't do it. Like I said, it takes 2 to tango, but like at the same time, like it baffles me that you're going to leave that as a potential option. Now, hopefully this doesn't happen and they don't leave and they're with the team all year. But selfishly for the guys, like you want them to go get a better opportunity if that presents itself. So,
for sure. I mean, you want to see that growth. You want to see that progress. You want to see them take the next step. You want to see, we get this a lot on the Griffin side is like, you guys always want the process. Well, yeah, of course we do. But also like for development, it's always best, right? But we're always happy. We will talk about that when they do graduate and they make the Red Wings. Like we always bring it back. But same thing on the Toledo side is like, we want them to do well. We want to bring, for their development, we want them to take the next step and come up. And you really should be seeing more of those people moving up than us just stashing goalies down there and then, or using Toledo as a, conditioning stint, right? It wasn't on the episode that you guys talked about Red Savage, and this is why I gave you the look, is because I don't believe we ever had a chance at Red Savage. After I sent you guys the article, I don't think we ever had a chance for Red Savage. He had too many family ties, too many coaching ties to the Buffalo organization, and that is why he went to Buffalo. It was just more of a comfort thing. I don't think Detroit was ever in the running. I don't think Horkoff ever had a chance at getting him here or to getting to Toledo, even with the starting point of that. I just don't think it was ever. When I read that article, I'm like, there was no chance. There was no chance he was coming here.
That's another guy that, again, is left and could potentially burn him down the road. So it's just one thing for me that it really bothers me, not for down here, but for even up in GR, just organizational depth. Like, you need it. I've said it for years. The Griffins never seem to have enough of it, of true depth. Like, I don't know. It is what it is.
This year we might.
Again, like, dude, you're another injury and a call up from a major issue. Like, there's not many forwards up there in GR right now. There's 13? That's another injury. You're down to, you only have 12 guys. And then if you go to 11-7, it's like, well, that's all we got. It's like, that's not ideal.
You forget AKL can play forward.
Okay.
As well.
can do and should are two different situations.
More of his usage was forward.
I'm just
So,
saying their depth is still not ideal. You should have more guys stashed down here. I still don't think it's enough.
We do. We have Truscott.
It's a defenseman.
Yeah, as long as they're right. So if AKL plays forward, we can just move Truscott there. We're fine.
I get what you're saying, but long-term depth, it's not an ideal.
Yeah, I feel like it's always going to be an issue. It's trying to put the right pieces in, right, and make sure you have enough. You never know who's going to make the next step and who hasn't taken that step, right? We didn't really expect Eric Gustafson to be here this year, or Vinny not to be here this year,
right?
And then you get, the end of the season, you get all the college kids here, and then you get all the internationals too. Yeah. So it gets, and then you're like, now we have too many people. So it's always trying to find that right mix, and it's tough. And I think this year they have done a good job of finding the right. They have a lot of vets to be able to help, but enough of Grand Rapids.
Well, I mean, like, it's a fair point to talk about because, like we said, it affects Toledo. They could go elsewhere, and then you don't see them for half the year, to where, like, if they just go up to Grand Rapids, it's a close drive. They could sign, halfway across the country. You don't know. So it's an interesting piece to talk about. But around the league, there's a couple interesting pieces here that affect Toledo with being in division, with Cole Fraser traded back to Cincinnati. So he'll be back in Cincinnati. Familiar face with Toledo. Fans loved him. He was a big physical defenseman, fought like he was that old school style player that this fan base loved. And then Nico Blashman signs with Fort Wayne. So two, like, I guess you could say borderline like enforcer tough guys in the division now. And I've seen a lot of, we could have used that. And it's like, well, yeah, to a point, but we'll be all right. I'm not overly concerned.
Takes two to tango.
I look at it as those two are going to take more penalties, and then they'll be in the box,
which leads to more shorthanded chances for us to score.
Well, at least the more power play chances for us. And when your power play's at 31%, you're going to be coming just fine. It's okay, buddy. Long day.
Man. Yeah, and I didn't stay up to watch the week game last night. You set this in the chat, Nico Blashman. Why is that name ringing a bell for me? Why is that?
He was with Iowa last year, and he would just skate up and down the red line, screaming at our players before games last year. So just a thorn in the side. It's Iowa. Really all it is he's out there to stir the pot.
I remember this guy because did he play in the A? Did he play in the A?
He was with the Wild for a couple games last year. Yeah, the Iowa Wild.
He played against us, and he started crap with us. I remember this towards the end of the season, and I'm like, what is this guy doing? Yeah, he was a shit stir with us or against us in Iowa, and then I remember him being sent out. So yeah, okay. I'm like, I know I should know this name for some reason. I can't remember who he took on when he was here. It may have been Waddy.
Poor guy.
I remember Nico got crushed in that fight. Whoever he fought against, he got crushed. But yeah, I do remember this now. The flashbacks are coming to me.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's pretty much it though for around the league. Our normal content, the 3 stars, only the one game to go through. We're actually going to take you to an interview with Nick Parillo. So we're going to throw it to an ad break. And after that, it'll be me and Nick previously recorded. This was recorded a while ago, actually, before I went on vacation. So we just ran out of time with me going on vacation, Nick going on vacation. We got busy. Preseason came quick. So we're going to toss it to an ad break. And then after that, you'll hear from Nick Parillo, former player of the Toledo Storm.
Hockey is back, and this season, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, brings you all the speed, skill, and nonstop action you love. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 4673. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78-97777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Blue Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, pass-through of pay per wager Tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved.
Okay, everybody, joining us today is a member of the last installment of the Toledo Storm. He spent parts of 4 seasons here, became a fan favorite, racking up 198 points in 262 regular season games. Thanks for joining the Hockeytown West podcast, Nick Parillo. Nick, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm enjoying a nice night out here in Perrysburg, Ohio.
You said it was funny when we were talking to you prior before we started. You're like, I got to sit outside because of the dogs.
Yeah, I've got a couple huskies and they're pretty rambunctious. So, and they're in their normal mood right now. So they're wandering the house. When we get home, they sleep all day, and then when we get home, they're ready to go. We're ready to shut it down. They're ready to go. Doesn't work all the time, you know.
So how did you, let's go to your Toledo Storm days. How did you end up in Toledo?
Yeah, kind of make it a short story, but I had I played at Merrimack College and in Boston, right outside of Boston, and my senior year, I was invited to the Florida Panthers main camp and also the Detroit Red Wings main camp. And my family wasn't a hockey family. I grew up in upstate New York, and it was primarily Yankee baseball when I was younger. And we're big New York Yankees fans. So believe it or not, the decision came down to, and I had an agent, and he gave me those 2 choices, and he went through, you know, like the goods and bads of both organizations. And actually my dad mentioned it, like came down to this, believe it or not. He's like, the Detroit Red Wings, it's like the New York Yankees of baseball. Sold. I'm going.
That's pretty fair about that time in the history of the Red Wings.
Yeah, right around, they won the year before. In what was that, 01, 02, I think, and then I was my first year was 02, 03.
So did they then assign you down to Toledo from there?
So, yes and no. I had a pretty good camp there, and I know. Actually, I remember Ken Holland telling me, he's like, "Hey, at the start of this camp, we weren't going to have you play in the red and white game, but we're going to have you play." And he said something about getting me up to Grand Rapids throughout the year, and we want to see you again, and we'll get you in the affiliate, a couple of games with the affiliate, and keep watching you. And Claude Noel from Toledo was, I remember, at that camp, and that was his first year as head coach for the Toledo Storm, and he was at that camp. We went to lunch like first or second day of the Detroit camp, and I'm sitting at lunch, and he's like, "We're going to do this and that this year. We're going to have a great team, and you're coming with me." And I'm thinking, well, why am I here then? If I'm going to be on the coast, why am I here? And it eventually ended up where I was in Toledo, so he was right. But I went to Grand Rapids right after that Detroit camp.
With the red and white game coming up, could you tell us any stories about when you were there, or like who you played with, or anything crazy?
Well, I remember the inter squad games before the red and white game. It maybe got me into the red and white game, but I did some scrapping in junior, and I remember, getting out there, and I just had 4 years of college, but I grew up in an era where, hey, you want to make a mark, or you want to prove yourself. Sometimes you do things, maybe drop the gloves or play real physical, and hey, if I'm not scoring a lot of goals, maybe I could get myself noticed some other way. And I remember hitting this guy, and it might have been from behind a little bit. I can't remember too clearly. But he turned around, and it was Darren McCarty. And we're looking at each other, and he goes, "You sure you want to do this?" And at that point, it was too late because both of us had our gloves dropped, and I wasn't gonna. After I saw him, I'm like, "Oh shit!" Right? So we dropped our gloves. We went at it for a while, and I mean, I stood up. I did okay. But then right after that, I remember Sean Avery comes after me because, I fought Darren McCarty. So I got myself in a little bit of hot water. It was one guy right after the other. And then right after that, I think it was Verbeek, Beaker, who I ended up playing with that year in Toledo. It wasn't Tim Verbeek or Pat Verbeek. I think it was Tim Verbeek.
Thanks, Tim, yeah.
It was Tim Verbeek that year. But anyhow, I think that type of play got me noticed a little bit, and you're walking out of the rink there, and people have no idea who you are, but now they kind of know you a little bit, right? So back then, that might have been a little more acceptable, I guess you might say.
Yeah, because that roster was pretty loaded for the Red Wings that year. You had Datsuk, Lidstrom. I mean, you've got.
I remember taking a shot in one of those inter-squad games. It was a breakaway. I had a breakaway or something, and the goalie, I think it was Legacy, glove save, something like that. I get back to the bench, and I sit down, and next to me is like one of the guys I like idolize. It's Luke Robitaille.
Oh, yeah.
He goes, the goalie's better at this level, eh, kid? I said, yeah.
Just a tad.
Yeah.
So you get to Toledo, and like, what was your favorite memory of your time here?
I had quite a bit of them. That first year we had a great team, and we ended up winning the league. And Claude Noel was an outstanding coach, and I learned a lot from him. Just had a lot of good times that year, and introduced to Toledo, which was a little bit different, a little bit of a culture shock from Massachusetts and New York. And then the sports arena, of course. That's one of my biggest memories is playing in that arena. Obviously, it was one of a kind and very well known. It's a pretty popular place.
What were your thoughts on the sports arena? Because we've got a lot of kind of differing thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think the way the fans were, and the way they demanded us play the game, and it was kind of still that era of, hey, if you're not beating them on the scoreboard, you're beating them up. I think that whole combination of that whole atmosphere was just, it was unlike any other. And I played in quite a few rinks in the minors, and nothing could compare to that atmosphere. It was like a jungle at times out there. It was pretty tough. Thinking back, real tough.
Can you just talk about the ice, because it was small, right? Like, it wasn't a full sheet. Was it hard to adjust to that?
Yeah, there was no room behind the net. All kinds of weird bounces in the corners with the puck. You never knew where the puck was going to end up on a wrap. Could end up on your stick, or could end up out in front of the net. It's just things happen very quickly in the sports arena because everything was so close. You got guys that are 6 foot plus out on that ice surface, and it's so small. So everything developed really quick out there compared to even an official size ice arena. But the thing that sticks out most clearly, I guess, is behind the net. There was like, you couldn't fit two guys behind the net. I mean, it was tough to play down low in that arena. There wasn't much room at all.
Was the glass still short when you were there? Was it real short along the sides?
Yeah. I remember a few times where the play would obviously would stop when the puck went over, but everything would stop because somebody got hit in the stands. So that was always a danger because of that low glass.
We hear so much about the fans too. I mean, we've been able to experience it at the Huntington Center, but what were they like there in the sports arena? I mean, you said a little bit of like it was a jungle, and like, how are the fans there for you?
I remember like in warm-ups, there'd be a guy that he'd come over the glass and he'd say, "Hey, Parillo," and I'd be waiting in line in warm-ups, and he'd say, "Hey, I'll give you $50 cash after the game if you drop your gloves." And he wasn't kidding. He would. Little things like that I'll never forget when Daryl Bootlin's in the penalty box and one of the fans hands him a beer. And we're all looking on the bench. We're like, don't do it, Daryl. And he does, and he takes a sip.
What was it like playing with him? Like, he had to be like an ultimate character.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was, that first year, I mean, had some guys on that team. You know, Daryl Bootlin, one of them. Yeah, Matty Ellis, who ended up in the NHL as well for a period of time with Buffalo. But I remember Daryl, Matty Ellis, and I remember Ballantyne was the other guy, defenseman. But they were like our three, and then Tim Verbeek. They were like our four Detroit contracted guys. And I was unsigned. I was a free agent, so I was able to go anywhere. But those guys I remember pretty well from that year. And Booter, of course, I remember the most because, some of his antics. Everybody loved Booter. He was always, I think his saying was, "I'm not here for a long time, I'm here for a good time."
Were those kind of like the guys that you were closest with in your first year then?
I was closest with Brandon Fleener, who was kind of a tough guy. And we sat next to each other in the locker room, and we shared a lot of good times. And one time in particular, he, after practice, he's like, "Hey, want to go get a tattoo?" And I'm like, "I never thought of that before, Brand, but I'll go with you." And he takes me over to this house in Toledo, and it was a little sketchy. We walk in, it's this guy and his wife. This guy knew Brandon, watching him at the sports arena or whatever, and then they met and had some sort of relationship. And he gets out these big books and gives me a book, and he goes, "Hey, pick out a tattoo, whatever you want." And I was like, "Well, I was just coming with my buddy here. I don't know if I wanted to get a tattoo." And of course, I ended up getting a tattoo. And he goes to his drawer and takes out all these hypodermic needles, and I'm like, "Hey, Brandon, this is clean, right?" Like, I've heard some horror stories, and we're in the middle of East Toledo here getting tattoos at some guy's house, man. I hope you know this guy, But I was pretty close with Brandon that year.
What was the tattoo?
I got, everybody says it, like, "What's on your arm, Nick?" And I never got it colored in, but it's a Grim Reaper with a cowboy hat on. Believe it. Don't ask me why, how, like, I don't know. It just seemed like the cool tattoo at the time, and I can't explain.
Yeah.
It kind of fits the whole east side of Toledo, the Storm, like just the brawls, the fights, like.
Yeah, maybe it was like I was in that mode. I was in that mode of Whatever. There was a lot of fighting, that's for sure. Yeah, back in those days, it was kind of, and I wasn't even like I wasn't even like a real, I wasn't like a heavy. I wasn't like, a guy that had to do it every night or, but like back then, almost everyone fought from time to time.
Do you have any crazy fight stories from your days?
Yeah,
Either you were involved or you're like your line mate was involved, and you're like, oh no.
yeah. I remember a few. I remember this kid, this guy Jason Spence that played for Johnstown. He had like huge forearms on him, and he looked like a boxer. And I just remember how I was in a lot of fights playing hockey and even in junior, and how much that hurt fighting him. I'll never forget that. And I think I fought him a couple times throughout the first year. And there was some tough guys in that league, real tough guys. There's good, yeah. I wish I could remember our tough guy that year, Peyton, or I can't remember his name, but he was something else. He'd patrol the red line before the games, and you look in his locker, it looked like a pharmaceutical cabinet. He had effort, Red Bulls, and we were just kind of shaker, shadow box before you go out in the ice. I mean, these guys were just characters, and they were all like that. I remember the Jablonski guy when I got called up to Cincinnati, same way. And then throughout the years playing on all these different minor league teams, you had one of them on every team, and just full of life and just characters in the locker room. And, they have your back, obviously, and everybody loves them. It's one thing I really miss is that camaraderie, and guys like that were just, they're definitely the life of the locker room, for sure.
Was it Andre Payat?
That's him.
Okay.
Andre Payat.
He didn't have as many penalty minutes as you guys did when you guys were playing. You and Bootland.
We were dummies. Yeah, something I talk about. Like I remember when your kids start learning technology and getting on the phone, and I remember one day my daughter comes home from school and says, "Hey, Dad, a bunch of kids are looking up this fight on YouTube, and you're like beating some guy up." And Lainey, don't watch that stuff. That's stuff we did back then. And you guys know, like everybody's, back when you're younger, you're in the bars and whatever, just crazy stuff. And you look back on it, you're like, what the heck were we,
We've been fortunate enough to talk to a lot of the older Storm guys from the championship years, and the stories that they come up with, and that they had, it's just like they're like, there's no way we could get away with this stuff now with social media and everything. So it's always fun to kind of relive those stories.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Was there?
I coach a youth hockey team, and I have for years. I've been involved with hockey training for about 20 years, or almost 20 years now. But I warn these kids about social media, and just from talking to Division I coaches and scouts along the way here, and I help out with a junior A team right now, and like it's so easy to find out about a player and find out what he's like, because you just go on his social media pages, and you can see everything. So I tell my younger guys here, they're 13. My youngest is 13, and he's going through it right now. And I tell him, hey, just be careful what you post.
Want to shift gears a little bit. You mentioned your idol was Luke Robitaille. Was there anybody that you molded your game after?
Yeah, I like the little guys, like Stevie Sullivan's. I watched him in Albany play for New Jersey after. Obviously Theo Fleury, one of my biggest idols growing up. He played at 5'6" and he's like shot out of a cannon. A little bit later on, you got St. Louis. Guys like that I think are terrific. On Detroit there, I mean, you got a guy like Fedorov. I remember just wheels. You just can skate. Funny story about him in camp. I remember everybody. He comes into the locker room. Everybody's getting changed and everything, and guy nudges me and he goes, "Hey, check that out over on Fedorov." And he's got a tattoo because he went out with. I know he's going out with Anna Kournikova at the time, a good-looking tennis player, famous tennis player. He had an X going right through her face on his leg. It was kind of fun. But I mean, he could skate. He was a terrific skater, obviously.
When you guys went into that last year in Toledo, like, did you know going into the last game that was it, or did you guys not know yet?
Yeah, we found out maybe halfway through the year that the Storm, the Walleye was, which they didn't have the name yet, but there would be a new organization coming in. I know the Storm was getting bought out or whatever, but they would be on a 2-year hiatus. And it was bad news for me because they told me to get a house in town and they'd pay my mortgage or whatever, because I was in Colorado the year before, and they told me to come back and get a house in town because my wife has family here, and I thought it was a great deal. And halfway through the year, they tell me, "Oh, by the way, we're defunct after this year." So it was about halfway through the season. And I know Rick Judson was the assistant coach, and that was the first he heard of it as well. And he was pretty upset. I remember talking to him about it as well. He didn't know until about halfway through the year. So
talk us through that last game at the sports arena.
Yeah, from what I can remember, I know it was kind of a downer because I want to think the score was like a 3 or 4 goal spread, and it was, of course, a needed win. And I just remember that never die attitude, like, we're going to come back. And the last goal that was scored there, it was kind of luck. It was luck. It was like a wrap around the boards, and like I said earlier, sometimes that puck would like bounce right out in front of the net, and I was just going to the net hard, and the puck bounced on a wrap. Goalie came out to play it, and it went like right on my stick. It was just a freak thing. And I just remember just tapping it in. It's kind of a gift. So it was people were saying after, it was the ghost. I don't believe in that stuff, but anyhow, it was pretty cool.
Did you get the puck?
I cannot remember. I know I was pretty upset after that game. I hated losing. So hard telling. I can't remember.
Kind of like knowing that you guys are going to be defunct after that like halfway through the season, like did that change any of the kind of like your day to day, or did it change your mindset at all of like, hey,
it didn't help. Yeah, it didn't help. Everybody knew they were going to different teams after, so it was a you're still wanting to make a run. It's the minors, and and that's everybody's mentality usually in the minors is year to year anyhow. So it wasn't anything uncommon. It wasn't an uncommon feeling or anything like that from what I remember. It was a little uncomfortable for me because I most guys were in apartments and everything. I'm sitting here with a house and mortgage, and I'm like, what am I going to do now? It's time for the real world.
How was it to have Nick Vitucci as a coach?
He was a player's coach. Nick was, he ever had an issue or anything, you could go to Nick. And then he's just the kind of coach that you'd play for when you lost, you actually felt bad. You felt bad for him. You wanted to win for him, and because he's just such a nice guy, right? He didn't really rule. I had coaches in the minors that kind of ruled by that, like intimidation. He was maybe the opposite of that. That's why I always called Nick a player's coach. And I had a young son at the time, and he's always allowed in the locker room, and he was just that kind of guy, right? He was just really nice guy.
And you played with our current Griffins coach, Dan Watson. How was that?
Danny, it was much different than I'm sure his coaching days. I mean, I remember Danny with a newspaper and a coffee in his hand every day walking in that locker room. And he acted like he was 50 years old at 30.
Fits the mold.
Yeah. Are you surprised he went on to coaching?
Yeah, not so much. I mean, he's got that persona. Like he's an intelligent guy, and he was obviously he was a defenseman, and he knew the game really well, from what I remember, and he played at considerable levels, and it doesn't surprise me he's having success either. He's definitely been around the game for a long time, and you can definitely see it.
Every story we've got about him has just been very professional. So when you say coffee in hand and newspaper, it's fit everything we've heard. Like, we've been able to chat with him a couple of times in the post-game interviews, and then also on the pod too. So definitely fits the bill there. There's nothing crazy, no funny stories, just straight, hardworking guy.
Yeah, Danny was a good guy. I can't recollect much more about him. But I just remember the newspaper and the coffee and out of business. He was ready to go.
You got to play in the alumni game a few years ago outdoors. How was that experience for you?
Well, yeah, I think anytime you're getting back together with all those guys, and you're playing against some of those top Red Wings of the past, and some of the guys you watched on TV playing, and I mean it's obviously a great experience. And one of my favorite moments was I went over to Mickey Redmond, and I'm like, man, I love watching your broadcast. And he just shook my hand and said thank you. But I thought that was pretty cool because Mickey's like the old school guy, the old school hockey player, old school Red Wing. He's still skating around in the alumni game. I thought that was pretty cool.
He's a legend.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
How did you know it was time to retire?
Well, I didn't have a choice really. I had 2 herniations, and when the team went defunct, I went up to Port Huron, had an MRI, and they basically told me, we don't think this is a good idea. You have 2 large herniations. And I was complaining about my back, and I had a fall. I fell during my last year, and that was kind of the end for a little bit. And I went and I did a pharmaceutical sales job for a while, and some other things, trying to use my degree. And then the walleye come along. I remember having a conversation with Nick Vitucci, and he told me, we're probably all set this year, Nick. You've been out of the game for 2 years. You're getting old. You got a full-time job, and because I heard about the Huntington Center and everything, I was kind of getting the itch again. And then I remember a month after the season started, the walleye were struggling a little bit, and I got a phone call. Nick, hey, you still want to play? And I go, yeah, absolutely. And he's like, we'll get you in for a physical MRI. And then I got the I got the physical and the MRI, and it was a no-go. But that was it. After that, that was it. I was done.
You mentioned earlier, wife's family's there. Is that why you chose to stay in Toledo?
Yeah, primarily, yeah. And I this is home for me now. I love it here. I love the people here. I'm very comfortable here now, and I live in Perrysburg here, and it's a great place. And the people here, like the hockey people here, they just treat you so well. And I work at the rink as well as I do a commission sales job as well, but I also have a salary job at the local rink here where I run camps and clinics and stuff like that. And just being involved in the hockey community has been awesome here. Really has.
I was going to ask, do you make it to a lot of walleye games?
I don't make it to a lot, but I try to get to one or two a year. It's just with my schedule with coaching and everything else on the weekends. I'm kind of on the same schedule they are to a certain extent. It gets to be tough.
What's the biggest thing you've learned over the years coaching this game? Because it's made a transition from like big, heavy physical to like where speed is like the biggest thing now, and skating and skill.
Yeah, and I'd like to go back to my favorite Red Wing for this. I know I mentioned Mickey Redmond, but my all-time favorite's Pavel Datsyuk. And if you look at his game, he was the start of like the new player. And obviously it's very hard to emulate Pavel Datsyuk, but just some of the like the novel moves and his famous deke, stuff like that, and the way I call them wide transfers. You move the puck outside your body from one side to the other so quick. Nobody was better at it than him. And that was, people watched him and they were like, he's a magician. And, and a lot of the younger guys wanted to emulate that, I believe, the way he controlled a puck. And, it's the rules changed, obviously, which made the game faster. They didn't take out fighting, but they discourage it in a certain way now. With all that, the combination of stuff with these new players like Datsyuk at the time, Sidney Crosby. I mentioned St. Louis earlier. I mean, there was kind of a new wave of players coming in that were successful, and they weren't, they weren't Eric Lindros. Or Cam Neely. They were just gifted, average sized players. And I think that the game switched over around that era, and with the rule changes and everything else, I really think it's a good thing now that I have kids going through it right now. I've got a kid playing college hockey, and I've got a younger guy in youth hockey. I took a beat, and I mean, I got hit a lot. Getting your bell rung over and over and over and over again is not good. I want my kids going through that. So selfishly, I'm glad all of that is out. But then, you look at the game the way it is now, and sometimes I get frustrated. The guys are running the goaltender, and nobody's doing anything about it, right? It's you got to take the goods with the bads, I guess. And if the goods outweigh the bads, which I think they do, there's just a lot of things that frustrate me with the game. But at the same time, I know it's for a good cause and a good reason. The new style of game here. So,
what would you want to change?
I'd put the enforcers back in the game. I would, because they're like the police, right? I just see a lot of stuff that goes on that, take away the head contact, stuff like that. I think is great. You can't have head contact. You can't, you can't hit a guy deliberately in the head. You can't run a guy from one side of the ice to, from one side of the ice to the other. But the enforcers, I think there should be one on every team that's kind of policing, some of the crap that goes on out there now that guys are getting away with. That's just chicken shit. It's stuff that shouldn't they shouldn't be getting away with it. It's frustrating to watch at times.
The last question I have for you is, you don't only coach a team, but you're also huge at skill development. What do you hope the kids learn the most from you?
Well, you guys said it, like, because of the change of the game and the skill and stuff like that. I mean, like the deception, being able to play with your head up and move the puck to an area and find seams and be able to read plays. Those are all huge parts of the game nowadays. And one of my main emphasis is hockey IQ, because in this era here, like, everyone can skate and everyone is so good with the puck because the amount of ice they get, and everybody's doing every sport 24/7. We're on the ice all summer here. So there's a lot of gifted hockey players out there. And what separates those guys is reading plays and being able to see things develop before they develop. The Wayne Gretzky kind of mentality. And that's a very, very hard thing to teach. But that is one of the things that over the years that I've noticed. If you see a young player that has a gift on that end, I'm not saying 9 out of 10 times, but maybe 8 out of 10 times, that player is going farther than, doesn't matter how good these players are doing at a younger age. If that player can read the ice, he could be an average player. By the time he's 18 or 19, 8 out of 10 times he's better than that player that was scoring 50 goals, at 14, 15 years old. I've seen it 1,000 times now. So, one of my emphasis is hockey IQ and being able to read plays, see the ice. Is I got to get creative with drills. You kind of invent drills to get these kids thinking, multifunctional drills and all kinds of stuff. So it's a day-to-day, every day you're working on it. You're learning something new every day, but you're always working on the concepts and trying to get kids to read the game better.
Yeah, development.
I could go on about stuff like that.
I get it. Development's big, and you've grown a lot of people. I mean, I went to your camps as a kid, but ultimately, just want to say thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate the insight and a different element with seeing different era of Toledo Storm. So huge thank you to you for stopping by.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. We'll definitely have to meet up again maybe at a walleye game this season. Welcome back, Parillo. That was we interviewed back in September. Back in September.
It's been a while, and I hopefully he didn't forget that we did it. I'll have to send him the link when we get the show up. But again, it's like with the last interview we did with Ace and them. We recorded that right around the same time, and just with the season coming, it was coming quick. Preseason, we both went on vacation, so that took 2 weeks for us basically. So yeah, it was a fun chat. It's cool that he still lives here, obviously. And for me, I think the one thing too is just some of the funny stories he had, but ultimately he scored the last goal for the Storm. So, and just to play on the house, to get his perspective on playing on that small sheet and how unique it was, and just a really nice guy to talk to and get a perspective from towards the end of the Storm years.
Yeah, it was it's always fun to talk with these older Toledo Storm players, because you kind of forget they go up to Traverse City, they play with the Red Wings, they play against some of these legends like Darren McCarty and Sergei Fedorov, and they're with those guys in the locker room. You don't really see that with the organization now, right? We saw Nick Andrews, I believe, was up in Traverse City.
Scott.
Scott. Well, yeah, True Scott now. But they didn't have anybody else really that was up there. So to see some of those guys, be able to talk about the legends, like that's always like the most surprising part because you don't see that on like the rosters that they played with and things like that. But for them to remember those stories with those legends, right, and to throw it back and to let us in on some of those are always good. It was cool to hear the inside story. But we did this interview like I think it was right after we
Yeah,
had interviewed Bob.
Yeah, because it was right around the red white game, and you asked him if there was any red white game funny stories, and the one thing for me, like you bring up guys like back then, they seemed like they got to go up there more often and be a part of that. I always kind of like was like let Hawk go up there and like just be a part of it. Let some of
Yeah.
these other guys like that have been here for a while, like some of the vets of Toledo that have been a part of it, like Craggs or like just some of these guys that to go up there and be a part of that. I think that would be cool, but. Carter was in camp, so like he,
Yeah.
he got and Jan they were talking about in their interview doing the shootout with Patrick Kane. So Jan's like, you don't want that, but yeah, it is cool that that Nick got to be a part of that and muck it up with some of the Red Wing legends and even just be around some of them guys. So that's a very unique thing.
If he gets a chance, can he go? Can he go up there? Can he, what would that be to him? So
Yeah. I mean, you see now, like to tie it back in that, like you see how much Shine took that to heart when he
But yeah.
even in the red white game, like stuff like that. Like you've seen how much that meant to him. So I think it would be really cool. I wish they'd at least give him an opportunity, maybe a couple of the other guys, but maybe it's just times have changed since then. So you don't know, right? And
I mean,
it's interesting.
I would rather give it to somebody like Hawk than some guy that we're bringing in off the street that has no chance that we draft or, like, I don't want to throw any names under the bus, but like people that are in the organization or people that we will never be able to draft or sign or, I'd
Right.
rather give it to a spot to Hawk for sure.
Because I mean, look at some of the guys that he's mentored, like Cossa. Spent time with Cossa. Spent time with Bednar. He spent time with Guylander. Guys that have played within the organization for many seasons, multiple years. Kossa's a step from the NHL at this point. Like it all goes back to like I think Cossa even told us like, dude, that's one of the top 3 shots I think I've ever faced in my life. So like, there's value in that, right? So yeah, it's very interesting. I hope that maybe some year he gets that opportunity. As long I don't know how long he's going to keep playing, but I hope that he gets that opportunity at some point just to be a part of it. But yeah, I mean, it was to tie it back. I mean, it was a cool interview with Nick. To tie that in, it was a huge thank you to him for stopping by. Almost had it last summer, and to get it done, or 2 summers ago now, to have him on this year, that was a really cool moment for me because I have one of his Storm jerseys, so that was a cool moment for me. But to look ahead, I mean, we put the post out today. Toledo's tied for 3rd in the division. They got games in hand on everybody, kind of like GR. I think they got 4 on Iowa, and they play 1 against Iowa this weekend. So that's crazy. They got 2 in hand on Fort Wayne, but this upcoming, week until we talk to you guys again, they got 4 games unless we record before the Wednesday game, which is very possible. Who knows? See, that game might be tight end. You're at least going to hear about 3 games, which is at Kalamazoo Friday, home with Kalamazoo Saturday, and then home with Iowa Sunday. So their first 3-3. And I talked to Pat about that too. Like, they've had a pretty easy schedule so far, and now they get to kind of go off the deep end a little. And he talked about how there's a lot of guys in camp or in town, still on the team, still around. So I like I said, I think there's going to be daily transactions of guys going in, guys coming out, rotation going on as they continue to see who's going to be here, who's going to be with who.
Is there anybody on their way back that either injured or
we don't really get any of that information, so not that I'm aware of. I know that there are some guys on the IR still, and you don't know when they'll be back. And hopefully it's soon. You want to see all them guys get healthy and get a game, see how they look. But ultimately, we'll know better as they get healthier. But just to, how long are they going to continuously play with the puzzle pieces until they figure out where guys are going to go? Like, I think the team is at a much deeper state than last year. I mean, you look at their center depth down the middle. You've got Dickinson, and then there's Craggs, and there's Smirnoff, and there's Hillman, and there's other guys that can take faceoffs in there too. So I just feel like they're deeper down the middle this year. And as the season goes on, I think they've got enough depth. That's just going to be, do guys get called up, and how long are they gone?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Anything else you want to touch on this week
No, I think we've rambled on long enough for everybody approaching
for a
on-
1-game episode?
for a 1-game episode. Yeah, but there were some good talking points, like you said, with the call-up stuff. And you haven't, like you said, you didn't get an update, so you got to ask some questions that, that you've had. So it was fun.
And if you missed last week's episode, this was a good filler episode for you.
100%.
Yeah, because I think the last episode, the last time I got my update, we were deleting people. People were assigned, and then we were deleting people. So yeah, and we hadn't even started the season yet. So it was good to get a little bit of an update. So we'll close this down. So the first thing, if you made it this far, you're still listening, subscribe to us on YouTube. Find us on, we're everywhere. Trav, I know because we have to post everything everywhere now. So if you haven't found us on YouTube, we're posted game interviews, we're posted goals, we're posted saves, we're posted everything over there. Blue Sky, we're over on Blue Sky. So if you're that's where you're getting your breaking hockey news. We're over there.
Don't
We're
get us
still on
started
X
on that.
What?
Don't get us
Yeah.
started on that.
But we're still over there. We're still posted for the Blue Sky people. We're there for Twitter, so you can find us on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. We're still over there. And then Facebook. Facebook's huge right now too for us.
Facebook, Instagram, yeah. Same
Instagram,
move.
Threads. So they're all the meta universe. If you got to find us, if you want the highlights, you want the game updates, we are there. Probably won't get the school day games, but we will be posting just about every game. Is you can find us, right?
Well, Toledo's going to get
content.
the school day games from me because I'll be home.
Oh yeah.
So I'm all for it.
Maybe you're doing both games. Thanks, buddy.
God.
Somebody's got volunteered. And maybe if you wanted to get involved with Hockeytown West, send in your applications, your comments here now. Maybe find a job for you too while we're shorthanded, cover for Trav while he's on the IR. But again, we have to thank our sponsors. We have to thank everybody that follows, shares, likes, comments, hits that hype button, hits that subscribe button for us. Definitely helps. But we've got our sponsor of Everything Hockey. Use code WEST at checkout. They've got some cool hoodies. They just came out with one, and I've forgotten what the design was. But go over and check it out because I haven't bought one in a while, so I need to re-up some of my hoodie swag over there. At DraftKings, use code THPN. Get your bets in. The interesting one hockey bet I saw this week was shared in our rundown group was Todd McClellan, Coach of the Year. I might have to get on that. No? You sticking with your Emmett Finney for Calder, huh?
Seen a lot on him lately because he's gone a little quiet, but
Yeah.
don't get me started.
Yeah. That'll be for a Patreon. And then, of course, our Patreon users, that's a nice little tie-in right there. We've got a new subscriber, Darren Swartz. You know what's funny is I'm from Swartz Creek, so if you didn't know that. Peter Grell, Joe Schroeder, Bryson DeChambeau is elite, Tyler Ingalls, Claire Boughton, John in Florida, Elaine Grace. Go check out her content if you haven't already. She's been posting a lot as well for Grand Rapids. You got Griffin, not from GR. And I hear she's going to be in Toledo this weekend, too. Randy Zick, one of our favorites. We got Derek Sleazer, Lori Fausch, Alan Fausch, our favorites as well. Michael Asante. And that is all. So you could go join us on Patreon. You get the crazy unedited episodes. Some of those should be edited. And just whatever other crazy things that happen between Trav, myself, and Brandon. Sometimes there's some crazy stories from our nights in Toledo. Brandon falling into a bed of a truck, or you get some stuff about a crazy dog story and a rabbit. So, which Travis doesn't know yet. But head over there. We'll post stuff. You get your ad-free episodes. You'll get the interview episodes before everybody else. And a couple other perks that we're coming out with as well. So thank you for your support over there. Yeah.
Still one more thing to do on that, and it's the top 20 countdown, which I'm working on.
Top 20 countdown.
We got a little busy here. The season started quickly. As I'm looking at my closet, I'm trying to narrow that down for maybe next week.
Yeah, it's definitely been a crazy. I always want to be ahead of the curve, right? And it seems like every year we're just always chasing the puck. We're always getting hemmed in the zone. So it's always interesting. But head over there, check us out. Again, everything helps, and we appreciate you guys. Is that it, Trav?
That's
Anything
it.
else?
No.
Go Griffins. Go Red Wings. Go Walleye. Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your hosts, Nick at GR Hockey Guy, Brandon at Brandon GR Hockey, and Travis at Trav in T-Town.